All right, welcome into the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I feel like we've been here all day. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. We got Timothy Bain. You can follow him at Timmy. There you go. Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. Jonathan Ramlicon at 3-Piece Combo. Brady Hawk at Brady Hawk 305. And Alejandro Villegas, our producer, at Alejandro VG 32. We're going to tell you about the sponsors here in a second. Before we do, make sure you check it out. We're not going to do a ton of trade talk here because we just did it. We just did 50 minutes on the channel. You can go check it out. Click on that. We had 6 of us on that one, and that's going on the podcast feeds. In fact, it's already up there. So trade talk there. We will take your comments. I'll tell you this. If you pay us after the day that it's been, we'll read your comment about the trades. Okay, that's how we're doing this. Otherwise, no trade talk. We're going to talk about this game. Also, check out all the coverage of the Mike McDaniel press conference today. I was there, did a video of it, and we're going to have the Extra Yard crew on there as well. Tonight, I think at 9 o'clock, actually, they're going live. So you can check that out as well. A lot of things to check out. Kai Chisholm is going to be hosting that one. And also, Alex Dono's show 5 Rounds on MMA is actually airing as we speak. So a lot of stuff going on the channel. All right, we're sponsored on this one on Before Floor by our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network and of the Miami Marlins. Marlins Lager, Tropical Bay IPA, Regatta Double IPA, and all of the other great beers of the not the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Well, we should take them here. We all need beer today. But this is, of course, the official beer of the Marlins and us, but also you can find it at FTX Arena. The Heat will be back there Saturday against Ben Simmons and the Nets, maybe. I don't know if Ben's going to be there, but 300 level, you can see it at 304, and the 100 level, I think it's outside 121. So you can check it out at not just there, but also at our local restaurants like Quarterdeck, another of our partners, or Whole Foods, Winn-Dixie, and Publix. Also, our friend MarkBrownPA.com was nice enough to sponsor our special that we just did, and he is the man with a plan. If you're looking for an estate plan, 954-566-5678, 954-566-5678. Again, he was texting me, is anything happening today? I'm like, watch the show that you're actually sponsoring, and we're going to tell you, Mark. But he can help you build the right estate plan, and he's right there in North Lauderdale, just north of Cypress Creek off of Andrews. Also got a title company and housing and help you with real estate. All right, let's get to it. The Heat are in New Orleans tonight playing against the Pelicans. There is actually a game tonight. This is interesting, too, because the Pelicans made a major move. Who's in, who's out?
Yeah, Tyler Hero was questionable along with Caleb Martin. Spo said that Hero was feeling better and he was going through warmups. So I feel like that's always a good sign, especially when he was giving positive connotations with it. Caleb Martin, he says he doesn't think he's going to play, and he just made a joke that if you ask Caleb, he thinks differently. So I think it's more precaution, especially with the amount of time he's been playing and the amount of minutes, role, everything that's been changing. But there is the big change on Portland's side with McCollum. It's first time many are going to see it, obviously, but I think it's going to be interesting for Miami because it's such a different group. Like we were talking in that Charlotte game recently, where it's such a team-esque offense where you have to guard so many different things. This team is just a bunch of ISO guys in a lot of ways that they're tough. Miami has the one-on-one defenders that stop it, I think, better than a lot of teams. But when you look at CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Devontae Graham, that's a lot of guys that you have to try to stop with scoring punches. It's going to be interesting to see. It's always a positive jolt for a team when they get a guy like a CJ McCollum's caliber. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle him.
I'll go to you on this, Jonathan, because you're the one I haven't heard from all day. You do get through a trade deadline, and again, we're not going to talk about that specifically, but we did see last year that there was a release for some Heat players. I don't think anybody was anticipating that Tyler Hero would be traded today, but there was an outside chance, very outside chance. Somebody in the network texted me today and asked me what I think the chance was. I said maybe 20 to 25%, which is about what Duncan Robinson was shooting at home for a month. He has been shooting better of late, particularly on the road, more comfortable with Bam out there. Do you sense that maybe we're going to see a little bit of a breakout? I mean, for whatever the Heat did or didn't do, we know they're all going to be here for the rest of the season at least.
Yeah, I mean, as famously said, water always reaches this level. And Duncan Robinson is too good of a shooter for this just to not be a mental thing, in my opinion. I feel like he was getting in his own head a lot of times. Now with, having to take and adjust and take some different looks, a little more catch and shoot. Now, but with Bam coming off the dribble handoffs, I really do think he's going to have a better, close to the end of the season. I saw him somewhere on Twitter. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but I think he was shooting, 45% on three-point shots last year after the break. So I can see something very similar happening to him. I think the mental release is a big part of it. I feel like, just overall mental is so big as part of any sport. So I do think he's going to end up shooting better.
Timmy, the Pelicans, they are, I don't know what they are. I mean, David Griffin, who I was a fan of in Cleveland, but he went down there. He was pretty much given free reign. He was given the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And it just doesn't seem like they can get Zion to, I don't know, go with the program here. I mean, he's never going to be great unless he loses weight. I mean, it's just really that simple. I mean, he needs 3 weeks in Heat boot camp at the very least. But Brandon Ingram, as Brady mentioned, as an isolation player, he's like top 10 in the league right now.
I'm a huge fan of Ingram.
Yeah, I mean, what do they do with him tonight? Is it mostly PJ? You think a little?
Yeah,
bit,
I think for sure. I think it's PJ and Jimmy. And I actually want to see Zion come back now because this team is actually built for point Zion. You have Bi, you have CJ, you have Devontae. I really liked Noah's game, but he's now in Utah, which is not going to. I don't know what they're going to do with Clarkson and him. It's not like he's Ingles who's bigger and more of a passer. So Brian put in the chat earlier that in the 8 games, Bam and Valanciunas has played. Valanciunas is 5-3. So Bam has a losing record against Valanciunas. So I'm hoping he could win more than that and bring that a bit closer. But definitely, ISO heavy team. It's gonna be CJ's first game, first time not playing for Portland in his entire career. So he might come out a bit, aggressive just to set a tone. But I think this team goes where Bi goes, and it's gonna be up to Tucker. And Tucker is such a nuisance on that side of the ball. I think Tucker's going to do what he can, but he's because he's 6'6", almost 6'11". He can shoot, he can pass, and athletic. But yeah, I think it'll be start with Tucker at the beginning and Jimmy towards the end.
I'm glad you mentioned Bam because we have seen a more aggressive Bam of late. I continue to make the point that the Heat ceiling is Bam's ceiling. How he plays in the postseason, your best players are going to play more minutes. We kind of know what you're going to get from Jimmy, with the exception of we won't talk about last postseason. But you have a pretty good idea of what you're going to get from Jimmy. It's really Bam who has the upside here. But Bam has struggled at times against bigger centers. And it's interesting that you mentioned 3 and 5 against Valanciunas. We haven't really seen him have to do that much lately. There was, I guess, the Portland game, right? There have been a couple of games he's gone against some bigger guys. But, Greg, I want to see him keep that same level of aggression.
Yeah, I think that you hit on it in terms of like, what do they need to make sure that this thing gets maximized? It's Bam continuing to be aggressive. We all want to see the field goal attempts. He's acknowledged as much. So I think also for tonight specifically, if Ingram were to start getting hot and feeling comfortable, Bam could end up on Brandon Ingram some as well. So that's, just something to watch just with Ingram's length. And with Caleb, I don't know if he's going to play yet or not. I don't know that they've made that designation. So to me, what was the question that you asked?
This is one of those days. You know what? I was going to give you a break today because we have been all over the place. No, it's really going against bigger centers. I mean, that's kind of the issue.
Yeah, I don't know. So put Dedmon in. The mechanic will clean it up.
All right. Well, there we go. That's fair. All right. Let's get to it because, again, the Nets are coming in here on Saturday. There's going to be a lot of hype about them. They're going to be suddenly elevated by people back to the top of the East, even though currently I think they are in the play-in, or they're right out of the play-in. They're kind of right there. I said there's going to be a shadow NBA Finals on ABC between the Nets and Lakers while the Heat and Suns play on Nickelodeon. But Brady, when we look at what Miami has to get done now, it feels to me like you're past the deadline. It's not just a release for some of these guys, but you want to get rhythm. Like I was looking today, you're literally 2/3 of the way through the season. And you played 55 games, you got 27 left. That is 2/3 tonight. Okay, that you're going to cross that threshold during like the third quarter. So who are the people on this team you think need to get the most rhythm together that haven't? Give me a 2-man combo.
I do want to say, first of all, I think it's a good point because right when you get past the deadline and you inch closer to the All-Star break, you even look at past game, it felt like they were coasting a bit. And I feel like this is the tiny little stretch of games where you kind of can't coast because you can catch yourself doing that. You kind of noticed that in the last game, they found out a way to win. But I think the way to build rhythm, I think for one is Tyler. Like, I think he started out really hot. He still found ways. But if he can get past this injury right now that, doesn't seem too bad if they're saying he's feeling better and kind of getting past it, I think that's just an important one, like a combination to work, because as much as we constantly look at Oladipo coming back or different things, like Tyler Hero is one of the biggest parts of this team. And I know we want to talk about closing lineups with 5 guys defensively, but right now Tyler Hero is a closer. And I think even at that time, there's a good chance that he's a closer. I think just getting a rhythm in that way. And then obviously the obvious one is Duncan. Like Duncan past the deadline, as Jonathan was mentioning before, just trying to get past it, the mental stuff. I don't think there's anything different schematically he's going to see. It's going to be the same things every night. If he plays drop, he's going to get better looks. If he plays switching, he's going to have to work a lot harder. I know there was that video going around of how much he has to run around to get a good look off, which is just insane. The fact that I know we look at Duncan so differently, but when you have to realize the amount of miles he runs in a game to just get one open look, it's just incredible. But obviously he's done it at a high level in the past. It's no difference. It's just about making shots. And I think that's what he has to do over this little stretch, go in the All-Star break. He has to watch the 3-point contest from home. So I think that's another little mental shift that's going to have to be made.
You raised the Hero thing. I feel like there's a whole podcast we could do on this. I don't want to get much into it, as I really just want to get to picks and let people get to the game tonight. But the Hero being played off the floor thing at the end of games, did anything happen today that affects that? Because you're looking at the teams in the East, right? So the Sixers have added, they've subtracted Curry and they've added Harden. Simmons wasn't there, okay? So we can't take that into account from this season, right? So they've added Harden, which means somebody on Miami has to guard Harden late. I mean, provided that he's, I don't know, he shows up, okay? Because we don't know with James Harden, particularly in the playoffs. But somebody's going to have to guard him, and typically that's been Jimmy a lot of times. I guess you could see Caleb, but he's not going to be in late game situations. So Tyler might be somebody who has to guard him, but this comes into, if they're playing the Nets in a playoff series, this may be where Oladipo comes in now that Harden is there. But then you look at the Nets, and now the Nets just got much bigger at point guard than they were before, because I'm assuming Ben's going to be either a 1 or a 4, with Kyrie kind of being a blended 1-2 like he's always been. And you're thinking that Kyrie is going to start playing more because that New York law is getting sort of
next week,
loosened a little bit here. Did anything, Greg, I'll go to you on this because I feel like this is in your wheelhouse. Like, did anything today affect that? Like, affect Tyler playing at the end of games?
No, because I think like a lot of this is predicated on Tyler being so good on offense that you can't take him off the floor regardless of matchup. Like we talk about how Bam's aggressiveness is such a key. I could also argue that Tyler Hero's shot creation, particularly late, and how that develops and how he continues to evolve and mature in that area is equally as vital in some ways to the ceiling of this team. You know what I mean? I think that Jimmy is probably not best cast as your top scorer, so that should be Tyler. And so that's where I feel like it's less about who can play him off the floor. He has to be so good that it's just not even a question that you're going to take him off the floor. And that's going to come from him flourishing on offense, frankly.
Who does he guard? Jonathan, let's do this exercise real quick. Who does he guard on this new Sixers team down the stretch? Maxey? Mute.
I would rather put
that.
You read my lips.
Wait, hold on. You know how we want to start fighting Toledo for at the end of the day? Like, or I do. I'd like to start fighting him for that. We need to start fighting you for being muted. It's got to be once per episode, right? It has to be.
Probably. We're going to start setting an over-under for it.
I mean, Alex is never muted. Because when Alex is muted, he makes sure to unmute if you're talking. But like, you are the opposite. You are always muted. Like just throw yourself out there. Just start talking, John. Come on.
The thing is, I have people outside the door that make noise. I don't want any outside noise as well. So I mute it, and then I'm like, I forget about it. So I do apologize.
You're a professional. That's the thing. Unlike the rest of us, or unlike the rest of us, other than Brady.
But I missed your question too. I'm getting a little.
See, look at this. Look at what I'm doing, all you guys today. What I'm saying is, against Philadelphia as currently constructed, who does Tyler guard down the stretch?
Yeah, you got to
Tobias
put him on
Harris?
max.
No, right?
Maxey.
You put him on maxi.
Maxey?
Yeah, I think you got to put him on maxi, and you stick either Kyle or Jimmy on James Harden. From there, I think that's still going to be the best option. You can't put Tyler Hero on James Harden. That's just not going to work out well. So I think you just got to put him on maxi, and if you're trying to hide him, maybe if they have like a Korkmaz just sitting in the corner, you hide him on Korkmaz and just let him shit out in the corner.
Hide Korkmaz. That's going to be the
Or
new game.
Thibault if they actually play him in the clutch.
Well, if Thibault plays, yes, you absolutely hide him on him, and actually that might be the way for them to go. But Brady, I'll go to you on this. Who do you hide him on the Nets? Simmons?
Seth.
Yeah, I guess. Well, what's their starting lineup going to be? You mentioned it before. It's going to be Simmons, Kyrie, Seth, KD, and Drummond or Claxton? One of the two.
Please start Drummond. Please start Drummond.
Yeah, exactly. Hide Hero on Drummond, I guess. I do think that would probably be the way they'd have to go. They're going to send doubles against that Brooklyn team anyway, that it's just going to be all rotations. I don't think one-on-one matchups will matter against that team more than any other team, because as you know, with Kevin Durant, they're going to put PJ on him and he can stop him, but they're just constantly going to just rotate guys in and out. And especially, we haven't seen Ben Simmons play basketball in a while, but I think there's ways Spo can really scheme some things up to kind of force him in certain positions.
I actually think that the Simmons is going to be the closing five.
That's interesting.
That's my guess. I think because I remember last summer before all this started, Simmons said he wants to go to the team where he could be like Giannis as a small ball five. I remember that very distinctly.
Well, and there's some Draymond similarities there too, which
so you love Kyrie, the old Duke backcourt. You will have KD, Simmons, and just someone else. And
so why is everybody freaking out about the size of the Eastern Conference when we're having a conversation about possibly the Nets closing with Ben Simmons at the 5? I mean, I
think it's Embiid. Maybe just Embiid. Really, that's it.
Okay, but here, I'm going to put this on record right here. Ricky, if you want to clip this, you can. Okay? I have said this over and over, and then we're going to get to picks today. There is no team in NBA history that is ever going to win a championship with James Harden as one of their two best players. It is not going to ever happen. Okay? You cannot count on him to stay in shape. You cannot count on him to show up on time. You cannot count on him to produce in the playoffs. His three-point percentage dips in the playoffs by 4%. Okay? He is not someone you can count on in those situations. He has never come up big in the clutch. He was shut down by Shane Battier because he went out too much on South Beach during the 2012 finals. It is never happening. He is not winning a championship as one of the top two players. If he does, I literally will turn over the entire operations of 5 Reasons to Brady. So I hope that you don't have plans for college or anything else beyond this, because it is not going to happen.
And he's getting older.
Thank you. It's not happening, okay?
He's never going to be Dwayne Wade.
Ever.
I mean, Dwayne was not traded in his prime. He was traded by LeBron out of Cleveland, okay, when he was well past his prime, and he never should have been in Cleveland in the first place. He's not winning a championship as one of the top two players. He might latch on to some team, okay, late in his career, like Gary Payton did or others have, okay? Or Dion, he's going to win a Dion Waiters ring at the end of his career, but he is not going to win a ring as one of the top two players on the team. All right, let's go around. Thanks to our sponsors. PrizePicks.com. It's all up on the boards. I just looked. All of the Super Bowl props are up there, okay? Nobody in South Florida has a stake in this game, okay? You weren't getting Joe Burrow anyway with the Dolphins. All right, nobody cares about the Rams even in Los Angeles. All right, so you need a reason to play this. PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5. Get your initial deposit matched, and you can play at any point. Okay, let's get to it. Picks tonight. Is anybody going to go out on a limb and pick the Pelicans tonight? Okay, we're done. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks to Brady. Thanks to Jonathan for unmuting. Thanks to Greg for remembering one of my questions. Thanks to Timmy for hanging on since the last episode. Thanks to Alejandro for producing and everything else. Hang on with him from here. Check out our I don't even know what it is, trade deadline stream that we did. And check out Post Up after the game. Pace and Space at halftime, I think. I don't know if those guys want to take it off. I don't blame them. And maybe a 5 on the floor with Brady and I after the game. We'll see. I need a drink. Biscayne Bay Brew. Have a good night.
That was the shortest Mark Brown PA predictions of the year. So let's go ahead and listen from the coaches. Today we have the Miami Heat facing the New Orleans Pelicans. So we're going to go ahead and listen from the actual coaches who talked to the press a couple of minutes ago. So let's start with Eric Spoelstra. Again, Eric Spoelstra talking about this particular game, Miami Heat facing the Pelicans tonight. Here we go.
Yeah, they've both been dealing with, their own bodies. Tyler is feeling better, but he does need to go through proper routine. See how he feels. I'll meet with the training staff after he does that. And Caleb has been grinding. So like a lot of guys, they could use a day here or there. And we think it's best right now, to try to get him feeling better. I don't think so. Yeah. Just don't ask him. Every team's different. So I don't think our team needed any kind of clarity. I think there was probably more just passing interest of what's going on, with the rest of the league. We're all fans. So we had TVs on, and I'm sure everybody was following it. There's some the big moves that happened. But just in terms of in our house, I think everybody feels comfortable, where we are. We want to keep on, getting better. Hopefully get a couple more guys back into the mix, and then, get ready for this final stretch run.
All right, Ira Wyndham and Sun Sentinel, go ahead.
Eric, just wanted to get your thoughts on KZ Okpala. I know there wasn't always a lot of time. There were a lot of injuries. He never really was able to get a foothold. Just your thought on the 2.5 years together.
We saw a lot of progress, and that's probably, the frustrating thing for him, because he wasn't able to get on the court as much as, he would have liked. But just in terms of his professionalism, his work ethic, his commitment to improve, all of those things, we saw it in our doors that he really improved. And, it's tough. Injuries are part of the game. And sometimes, at different points in your career, you have more of them than you do at other times. I think once he gets past this, I think he's going to have an opportunity to really, display his versatility, particularly on the defensive end. He has a lot of potential on that end. He can guard multiple positions. He's strong, he's big. And he, even in his small body of work, with us and the Nigerian national team, that jumps out, for sure. So, we definitely wish him the best. And once he gets healthy, I think he has great days ahead of him.
And part two of that would be you have 2 open roster spots now. You've always been very aggressive as a team on the buyout market. Eric, is there a point where it's too late to add someone? The March 1's the buyout deadline. You can sign someone after that if they get bought out by then. Does it really matter? Or is your team have such a system that the right veteran can sort of fall into place?
Every team, every situation is different. I'm not even thinking about that right now. Trying to manage our group right now, who's available, and get ready for this game tonight.
Thank you.
Right up next, we have Craig Minervini from Valley Sports Sun. Go ahead.
Thank you, Coach. Now that your team is healthy, do you feel like there's even another level to grow this season in terms of, the big three haven't really played a lot of games together, and how excited you are for the end of the season?
Yeah, we're excited about tonight. We all know what we're playing for, and I think it's very easy, for you to start thinking about what's ahead and the future and all that. I think that's been one of the most commendable things about this group, is we've been able to stay in the present moment and really take each competition, separately and have a professional approach to it. If you do that day after day, week after week, month after month, you become a better team. Regardless of the circumstances, whether you've had injuries, whether you've had your full rotation or not, I think we've gotten better.
And with CJ playing tonight, is it tricky from a matchup standpoint to not know what to expect with a guy joining a team of that kind of ilk?
Oh, he's definitely somebody that adds to their group, and I think they're really well coached. I think it becomes clear when you see how much they've improved, particularly in the last 6 weeks. I think Coach Green has really developed a solid culture where the guys are believing in what they do. And you add somebody like CJ McCollum to the mix, he's a bona fide scoring punch in this league. He can do it in so many different ways. In terms of preparation, this is the world we've been living in. I mean, there hasn't been a game yet this season where either we know exactly who we have available and or the opponent. So we've been able to adapt and figure it out, the best that you can.
All right, Coach, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Coach, you got obviously 2 new players that you're going to have to kind of transition in. What is the adjustment time going to take? Today's shoot around was basically almost like a mini training camp practice, trying to get those guys to play. So how much of a transition will it be?
I wish I had the answer to that. I'm not sure. It does take some time. It takes time for guys to get acclimated and to understand everything we're trying to do. But I think both CJ and Tony, they'll pick things up pretty quickly. I think the league, just in general, a lot of teams play very similar. They try to get out and run, they space the floor. So I don't think it'll take them too long, but we'll see.
Playing against the team, obviously that's number 1 in the East tonight, Miami. They're very good offensively, but defensively, extremely underrated. They take the 81 charges this year. What does that tell you about their defense, and as an offense, how do you try to avoid that kind of thing?
Well, Miami is extremely disciplined. They're well coached by Coach Spoelstra. Their team organization has done a great job year in and year out. You kind of know what to expect when you play against a Miami Heat team. They're going to play hard all game long. They're going to play their style, and we have to be ready to combat that. And the way we do that is keep teams out of the paint defensively. We have to have an extremely high awareness contesting their threes. They got shooters all over the floor, and try to keep those guys off the foul line. For us, we have to continue to get stops, run our stops, be aware of charge takers, and just continue to move the ball.
CJ's a guy who could obviously play either guard spot really well. What's your sense right now of how him and Devontae can play together?
Yeah, I think to your point, both CJ and Devontae can play either guard spot. We hope that we can use them in that way. There'll be times where CJ is playing the 1 and Devontae's not on the floor. There'll be times where Devontae's on the floor and CJ's not. So it's good to have those options, though, to be able to move those guys around and see how we can best attack teams.
CJ told us earlier that dialogue with him and the Portland front office about what the next steps were going to be for him, and he identified this as a spot that he was interested in. Does that kind of say to you about the progress you guys are making with the culture, and that this can be a winning situation you can be a part of?
It's a blessing to have guys like CJ, players like CJ that are identifying the Pelicans as a team organization that they would like to be a part of. It's also a credit to, I said it last press conference, but Miss Benson and Dave Griffin, Trajan and Swin and our whole group of continuing to identify high character guys that just want to go out and compete and have fun doing it. We have a lot of work to do in front of us. We're not there yet, but the goal is to continue to try to build to be a winning franchise, but also sustain winning.
Okay, Christian asked about the fit with CJ and Devontae. How much you looking forward to see the fit with CJ and BI and the way those guys kind of take pressure off each other?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how we look on the floor tonight. I know I'm aware that it's going to take time, and we're all excited to see what our team looks like. We got a lot of work to do in front of us, but we're excited.
Going back to Greg's point, trying to get these guys. Does it help that they're both vets, have been around? Just how much is that help when you're trying to put them in basketball?
It's extremely helpful. I think that's the key. Those are the guys that we identified. They played in a number of NBA games, high stakes games, playoff games. They understand how to make adjustments from going from series to series or team to team. At least Tony does. CJ, this is his first time, but I'm sure they'll make the adjustments that they need to. It'll take some time, though. It just does. It's just the human factor in it.
Hey, Will. John Crowdy, good to see you again.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Valanciunas is having a career year from a scoring perspective. And, what have you seen from him as a bigger guy where the league's going away from big guys? It's allowed him to do what he's doing inside, but also be able to help you defensively get up and down the floor. All that factors.
I think the biggest factor in Jonas is the fact that every game he just goes out and competes. No matter what, he rebounds the ball, he's talking on defense, and then he's just a heck of a post-up player. And the way that the league is now is teams like to switch a lot of off-ball, on-ball action, and he just can roll you down to the post. And now we can run our offense through him from there, and it's been extremely helpful for our team.
What does that mean?
I'm grateful. Number one. Also, I don't know if I can take all the credit for anything. It's just honestly, it's God. Continuing to bless our team. We're blessed with really good people that are all about the right things, and that's the goal, is to continue to build that way through character, through hard work, through people that want to compete. And we're blessed and fortunate to hopefully continue to make steps forward. Thank you.
All right, that was Willie Green, the New Orleans Pelicans head coach, talking about the new players that are just coming in. CJ McCollum, one of them, that is going to be actually starting tonight against Miami Heat on his first game with the Pelicans. Just to give you guys an idea, the Pelicans are right now with a 22-32 record, so they are 10 games under 500. They are currently in the 10th place of the Western Conference in the NBA, just one game ahead of the Portland Trail Blazers, who just traded everybody away. And let me see, 2.5 games ahead of the Kings, the Sacramento Kings, and the San Antonio Spurs, who are 15 games under 500, both of them, 21-36 and 20-35, just to give you guys an idea of how good or how bad these teams are doing this season. But right now, the Pelicans will be playing with the Lakers in that play-in, because the Lakers are in the 9th place. The Miami Heat, on the other hand, are in the first place of the Eastern Conference, 35 wins and 20 losses, half a game ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks, and 1 game ahead of the Chicago Bulls and Cleveland Cavaliers. Then the Sixers, 2.5 games behind, Raptors, 4 games behind, Celtics, 4.5, Nets, 5.5, Hornets, 7.5, and Hawks, 8.5. Those were the first 10 teams in the Eastern Conference. If you guys want, I'm going to end up this pregame show because we do have a trade deadline coverage that we just did at 4 p.m. So I want to invite you guys to go ahead and watch that. And we went over everything that happened around the league, not just related with the Miami Heat, but around the entire league. So you guys are welcome to go ahead and check that content out that we produced a little bit earlier here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Remember, Pace and Spaces during halftime, then the post-up show hosted by our friend Royal Shepherd as soon as the game is over. And later on tonight, a new episode of 5 on the Floor. Have a good night. Enjoy the game. And we will see you guys sometime soon here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Bye-bye.